I think it has to be something that they learn at home by example. They need to have role models, masculine role models, that can show them the way, that can show them why it's important and that it is possible and that it is normal and that it is natural. I think conversation is very important. And so I keep that conversation almost as a mantra. Every time I can bring it up, I bring it up. And that eventually starts raising questions in his mind. And then the conversation is on the table permanently or often. And we can go deeper into why it is so important and how equality and respect benefits us all. Hopefully, in the future, we would have this in schools. That's my hope, that we also introduce it in the educational system. I think we have to educate ourselves as adults and learn to read those messages that are constantly around us in order to reshape that language, in order for our children to learn differently, for girls to know that they are entitled to equality, and for boys to know that there's space for everyone at the table. And so it's a matter of education. I think it's a topic of education. It has to do with language. It has to do with images. It has to do with messages. And in the end, it has to do, as adults, with accountability. And as far as my experience with Spotlight, I think bringing the topic to the table and to very important forums, to bring the topic to the people who can actually make policies come into action is crucial to begin with. But on the other hand, the most important work, I think, has to do with going to communities, focusing on specific groups.
Sofia, uma rapper brasileira, e antes de iniciar minha fala, eu gostaria muito de agradecer à ONU Mulheres pelo convite. E vou falar um pouco sobre o meu trabalho engajando a luta contra as opressões, em especial mulheres negras. Então, bora lá! Nós, meninas e mulheres negras, somos a maioria no Brasil, mas devido aos 300 anos de escravidão e à falta de política de reparação histórica, nós sofremos diariamente a exclusão social e a violência causada pelo racismo, machismo e sexismo. A cada 23 minutos um jovem negro é assassinado no Brasil. E durante esses últimos tempos, essa violência só vai crescendo. E sem contar as mulheres negras, que são assassinadas a cada 2 horas. Então não é à toa que o movimento negro denuncia o genocídio da população negra no Brasil há muitos anos. E aí, em meados de junho, tivemos o caso de Kathleen, uma jovem negra formada, grávida, um belo futuro pela frente, que foi ceifado por uma bala perdida, que essa bala só atinge corpos negros. O rap, ele tem um discurso de contestação, e como a expressão cultural tem um potencial fortíssimo de atingir milhares de pessoas e despertar o coração e a mente para temas tão fundamentais como o racismo e a violência que vivemos. Eu, como uma jovem negra, sinto na pele todas essas violências, e a forma que eu encontrei de lutar contra esse racismo é escrevendo músicas. Só que músicas de empoderamento, para que eu possa elevar a autoestima das mulheres negras. Falando para essas meninas e mulheres que elas são lindas, que elas são maravilhosas, que elas são empoderadas, fortes, para que nós podemos lutar juntas e pensarmos no nosso futuro e no nosso presente. E todos devemos participar de lutas antirracistas, de marchas sociais e de todos os movimentos.
Hi, my name is Deepa Buehler-Khosla, and I am a mother, a social media influencer, and the co-founder of the NGO Post for Change, where we harness the power of social media for social change. In a world concealed by algorithms, hashtags, followers, and picture-perfect ensembles, an abuse of indignity creeps in what we know as social media. The power of social media is immense, being able to connect with people like never before. It has given people opportunities to express their individuality and create an online perception of themselves. However, as the light of optimism shines, a looming shadow of negativity lingers. A pandemic of online violence has contaminated our communities, leaving both physical and psychological harm. We have the right to hold and share our opinion, but when opinions become slander, an objection ought to be made and a discussion needs to take place. Studies have shown that online gender-based violence is rampant on most social media platforms, and women are the main target of online violence, especially those who freely express their voice and identity. Gender-based violence in all its complexities is an expression of the existing power structures based on age, gender, race, sexual orientation, religion, and culture. For the cyberbully, it is still far too easy to hide behind a screen and knowingly harm a fellow human being, whilst on the receiving end, the victims of online abuse often lack the tools to defend themselves adequately. A solution to end online gender-based violence won't be found overnight, but it begins when we start talking about its damaging effects. Where some will look at online violence and conclude that social media in itself is harmful, superficial, and negative, I see something else. I see how it can be used for good. Because social media can be all those negative things. Social media can indeed polarize, spread fake news, influence elections, or even incite violence. In some ways, the very platforms that were intended to connect us have momentarily divided us, and changes to the regulatory framework of these platforms is much needed to prevent all of that. But until that is done, we can address these matters, like we are doing here and now. Because never before in history has a girl like me, armed with just a phone and her voice, been able to communicate with hundreds and thousands of people at the same time.